Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you might be in this wonderful world of ours, and welcome to this In the Spotlight with your host, with the mostest, Seamus, wellbeing consultant and mental health trained practitioner. Thank you to all those who have connected with me, followed me, subscribed to my various channels, and I appreciate all your comments. Keep them coming. Because it's through your comments, it's through your feedback that I produce good content. But I appreciate your comments, your feedback, and your sharing your journey with me, and I appreciate that. If you've not already subscribed, if you've not already followed, please check me out in the Spotlight on Spotify and YouTube, and click that subscribe and follow button to keep up to date with all my amazing guests. And you will not want to miss my amazing guest that I have today. She is a high priestess, ladies and gentlemen. She is an intuitive business master coach. She is very much led by the spirit and produces and provides spaces, safe spaces for individuals and organizations to deliver services, performance and improvement, very much intuitively spirit-led. And it's my pleasure, honor, privilege, and I'm so super pumped and excited to welcome to my podcast show today the one and only Jessica Poscillico. Jessica, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you might be, and welcome to In the Spotlight. How are you this afternoon?
Thank you, Seamus. That was such an intro. Thank you so
Boom!
much.
I'm on fire. I've been on fire this week, Jessica. I don't know what it is, but my energy levels are through the roof. And
That's amazing.
I feel connected with the universe and the universal source this week. So anybody who links to my podcast episodes on this series will go, "Whoa, what's that guy on? I'm on life, baby. I'm
That's
on life.
life force.
Yes, life force. That's what it
Yes.
is." So you're welcome. How are you, Jessica?
Oh, I'm so good. I'm feeling very, very grateful and grounded, and grateful to be here with you. I was just thinking before we came on how when you let yourself create your career path, how really creative and magical it can be. The fact that, like, I was getting ready this morning to do this as part of our work experience is kind
Yeah.
of phenomenal.
It's kind of
And
cool, isn't it? It's kind of cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so cool. And I'm just so grateful. So thank you for having me come on. I love talking consciousness and life force and energy and mysticism with anybody who will listen.
Absolutely. And listen, it's a pretty big trend out there, and a lot of people are, would admit, some would freely admit that they're spiritual in nature and they're intuitively led. Whereas for others, it's a bit of a journey. It's a bit of an
Yeah.
awakening, and it's a bit of an awareness that people get to. Certainly for me, in terms of my own life and background, I believe I've always been very intuitively aware and guided by the spirit to a better or lesser extent. But when we are spirit led and spirit guided, amazing, magical things happen. Hence the reason, my dear friend, you and I are sitting down today in various parts of the world via
Yeah.
a digital platform, digital medium, hours apart. It's as if we're in the same room, right? It's just incredible.
Yeah.
It's just
And
incredible.
it goes to show, the concept of oneness. We are these fragments or these like little, the concept of the disco ball, the mirror
Yeah,
ball, and we're all these fragmented piece of the mirror on this like one large thing. And how in another life maybe we wouldn't have been able to connect, but because of the internet, you and I on different sides of the mirror ball ended up connecting and get to make some magic in this oneness container that you have.
absolutely. And speaking of connection, we connected. Oh God, over,
Oh, a while ago.
a while ago, right? Over
Yeah,
LinkedIn,
over a year ago.
over a year ago, which is incredible, really, to the platform of LinkedIn, which brought us together. And right from the off, I absolutely got what you were about. I absolutely got your business. I got you as a human being, and I felt a really strong connection towards you. And again, universally, I still feel that sense that in some way we are uniquely connected, either, yes, through this platform and this life. And it's almost like a celebration in my heart because we are reconnecting in a way that we probably have done in previous lives in the past. And
Mm,
that's that's just wonderful. If my friend Jeff Walliner is around, he'll know exactly what I'm talking about, but because that's his business. That's what he writes about. So tell me, Jess, for those who do not know you,
mhm.
um, how would you introduce yourself to the world?
Oh, this is always so fun.
Yeah.
Um, so my name is Jessica Poscillico, and my company is High Priestess Healing. And it's a service-based company that offers courses and education and community towards people who are on their spiritual awakening journey. This business itself is actually my ayahuasca baby. So I sat with plant medicine in 2021 for my own personal healing and to get really to build out new neural pathways
Yeah.
where I recognized I was being blocked significantly. Like had to get out of my own way, and I needed something stronger to make me get out of my own way.
Okay,
And I, that ayahuasca journey and that experience was life changing for me. And I'm ever grateful and reverent towards that medicine and practitioners of the medicine. But I was able to create a career pathway for myself where I would allow myself to spend more time getting to know me and healing parts of me that have been forced to be pushed away because of the society we live in. And, I'm a recovering Catholic, which might resonate with some of your listeners.
it
And
certainly resonates with me, and
yeah, I know.
yeah,
It's
my
just,
own story.
yes.
I'm not only recovered, I'm dumped in the bin.
And
Yeah,
sometimes I think that's a beautiful thing though to yeah, I just had a lot to heal and work through. There's a lot of aspects of self left in the shadow.
yeah,
And I think not because it's bad, but because we were told it's bad. And I said to myself, the only way I would be able to give myself the level of somatic healing I really needed in my nervous system was if I disengaged from the type of lifestyle I was living. So I stopped drinking. I resigned from my corporate job after I had some traction with being able to make a little bit of money off of coaching and digital services. Once I had that under my belt, I was able to launch High Priestess Healing actually June 6th of 2022. So ironically, it was launched on 666, which is an angel number, but Hollywood, you know, has
that's
given that
twisted
number
it.
a bad name.
Yeah, yeah,
And what I've do with High Priestess Healing is, I think I'm known for tarot because I have a YouTube channel that, by the grace of the universe, I took a leap of faith and launched a tarot YouTube channel, and that blew up in a couple of months.
yeah.
And so I read tarot cards. I read energy for the High Priestess Collective, specifically for Pisces, Sun, Moon, Rising, North Node placements. And I was able to connect with so many people who were walking a similar path
Mm,
as me,
mm,
healing hypervigilance and healing from codependent family structures, healing from families that have been afflicted by addiction and alcoholism and premature deaths as a result of those afflictions. And to meet so many souls who were healing those same things at the same time as a very lonely hermit
yeah,
chapter in my life, I felt less lonely, ironically, knowing that there were so many other strangers on the internet healing similar things and resonating with the energy readings on YouTube. And then from there, I built out, opportunities for healing containers and community experiences for people. And it's been a really personally healing and expansive journey. And I'm so grateful that my healing can be in service to others.
absolutely, absolutely. and you spoke there about your corporate journey and your previous life, as it were. And we all have previous lives that we've been involved in that have led us to life in spirit and a life in energy work and a life in intuitive guidance. For you, did corporate work become as it sometimes does, did it become meaningless and did it just become the 9 to 5 and did it just become the routine and the salary driven, check at the end of the week or end of the month? Did it force you to ask the question, is this it or is there more, or was it just a general journey for you, Jess?
Oh, this is such a good question. So I do want to say it's ironic because my corporate job was there are no problems. Beautiful job, beautiful leadership. I will, to this day, I will tell people beautiful leadership. Um, there were no problems. It was kind of like when you have a breakup with someone, you're like, there's nothing wrong with this person. I
Ah,
just am being called elsewhere.
in the
That's
different way.
true. Yeah, that's truly what kick-started all of this was I was starting to feel the need for growth. So I was applying for promotions within the company, but I wasn't getting them. And that
Mm,
was okay. But
mm.
I was like, oh, I realized I'm like, I think the universe is redirecting me, which felt scary. And I had had an at-home accident the year before I resigned. I fell over the side of a loft staircase that didn't have a railing, and I fell from one of the top steps actually on my birthday, which is so crazy. And I split my face open, so I have a little bump on my third eye still, and I broke my wrist and you know, impacted my nose. And that felt like the universe or my angels were like, you're really not living. You are very much coasting and settling for less than what your potential
Yeah,
has in store.
yeah.
And again, not saying that corporate is less than, and not saying any of the lifestyle changes I've made are less than, but for me, I was 100% not living. I was kind of numbing and working without purpose and drinking too much and not really pushing myself to be better. And so all of this really has been a push from above. Sometimes circumstances like that make you wake up. And and I remember as I was falling, it was so fast, but as I was falling, I live alone and I was alone there. And I was like, the thought that crossed my mind was, there's still so much I want to do.
Yeah.
And that's not a thought I had ever had before. And it felt, even as I'm saying it, I'm getting a little welled up. It felt the closest to near death reckoning that I've ever consciously had and been able to recall.
Yeah.
So this whole journey has really been an invitation or a push, however you want to label it, into living more. But to live more, I had to kind of learn how to get out of my own way. Does that make
Absolutely.
sense?
Oh, absolutely. It makes perfect sense to me. And again, you'll appreciate my own story. And certainly from my perspective, I've come to understand the universe a little bit more as a power source that whispers initially, and we have the opportunity and choice to listen to the whispers and make changes in terms of the whispers, right? And then if we ignore the whispers, it'll get slightly stronger in terms of its urgings, in terms of, you really need to do this, you really need to look at it, really need to go in this direction, you really need to do that. And then if we don't uh, if we don't answer those urgings, then sometimes it happens, and that we're literally stopped in our tracks. We fall off our proverbial horses.
Yeah.
We become clear in terms of where we have been, but also where we're now directed towards. And sometimes it takes a traumatic event, to put that in perspective for us. And certainly I presume that that was your own case when when you found yourself at the bottom of those steps,
Yeah.
yeah, the universe had you where it wanted, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting you use the description of the whispers of the universe because that felt like my initiation
Mm.
of we will whisper, but if you don't listen, we will scream.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know that might
Yeah.
I'm glad you're laughing. I was like, I hope that doesn't sound scary because I don't mean it this in this scary, punitive way that sometimes religions and spiritualists can depict the universe. It I kind of welcome that now of like, oh yeah, I'll listen to the whispers because I have evidence that if I don't listen to the whispers, they will scream. And I prefer communication in a soft voice over a loud voice.
100%. Absolutely 100%. And I think that when we travel the road of spirit and when we travel the road of faith, particularly in terms of your personal experience, being a recovering Catholic, and my personal experience as a recovering Catholic, that's a pretty powerful faith family to grow up in, right? And and it's part of the wider, church, and to come away from that, but with a certain wider understanding of faith and spirituality and intuition. I think, I don't know about you, but I think that that gave me a grounding in terms
Oh
of
yeah.
exploring deeper elements within the spiritual field, right? Um,
Yeah.
and I don't know how
Oh
it was for you.
yeah. Oh, I love this. I love it so much. I'm taking off my glasses. I don't need to see for this conversation.
Yeah,
I joke and poke fun at Catholicism in a way that adult children may poke at the way their parents parented them.
yeah,
It's like no love lost here. And at the same time, I'm healed enough to be like, these are the parts that are funky though, you know? Um, I just said what I had a conversation with my sister recently. We were raised in the Catholic Church, and when I say raised, Seamus, I mean we were in Catholic school. I was in Catholic school from the age of 7
yeah,
until I was 22, maybe
yeah.
23.
Okay,
So primary school through my master's degree.
yeah.
So I joke, I'm like, oh, they got me good. They got me.
Yeah.
They got
Hey,
me.
hey, baby, you tried to get me, but the program didn't work.
Well, it's just so it's so funny how this is the our foundation. We have a shared foundation
Yeah, yeah,
in this faith, and I am so grateful that I had a foundation, and I I'm grateful that I also found. I might get a little choked up. I am fortunate that I found safety in my Catholic schooling.
yeah,
And I know that has not been everyone's experience. And that part is the dark part and it's wrong and there should be consequences.
yeah,
And in my personal experience, Catholic school was where I was safe and it was where I was seen. And
amen.
I'm so fortunate for I could list you every teacher I've ever had in my Catholic schooling, specifically in primary and middle school. And they I feel like they raised me,
Yeah,
and I'm so grateful for that. And I'm also grateful for when your eyes start to open a bit when you have questions
hmm,
as a child or as a teenager. And I'll never forget, I went to a Catholic prep high school, St. Anthony's High School in Long Island, and one of the friars was my theology teacher, 10th grade. And he was the first adult I ever heard say these words. The Bible is not a textbook, it's guidance and stories for you to develop your own moral compass.
wow, wow,
And to hear that at 15 and be
oh,
like, and for people who weren't raised like this, it might sound like, yeah, duh, of course the Bible is not textbook. But for me, I was raised in a culture of like, you don't question this book.
yeah,
Because when I questioned it, it was like, we don't have the answers for you. You have to just trust what's in this book, whether it was family or teachers or clergy. And I was like, all right, there's so many things that don't make sense, you know? Um, so that early curiosity really that early curiosity around this, as well as I just had a natural curiosity around human behavior and psychology.
Yeah.
All these those like three bubbles kind of have like guided my, it's crazy, but have guided my spirituality, my career decision making. All my decision making has been based around this too, and trying to recognize patterns and fill the holes in.
It's
But
incredible,
yeah,
isn't it?
I could talk about this forever.
Yeah, it's incredible though. It's quite powerful. It's quite a powerful process, and to distill all that, and to have your experience, and then come out the other side of that, knowing that the universe, and in essence, wanted you or was encouraging you
Yeah.
to divine the life that you should have, and that was your true mission and vision and purpose. How did you start? Did you say, was this a scary time for you in terms of your business? Did you feel that sense of acceptance? Did you feel that
Mm,
fear? Did you feel that sense of anxiety?
this is a good question. I argued with, I guess, myself. You know, meditation is such a meditation and nature walks are my life force. And coming back from ayahuasca, my practice was already very strong. I had started meditating in January of 2020. So at the end of 2021, I already was really embedded in my practice. And I remember I would meditate coming home from ayahuasca and kept getting these like clear next steps about high priestess healing. And like before I even had a name for it, it was
Yeah,
like, you are just clear, you're creating a business. It will be around healing so that you can actually live. Like the only way I would heal is if I made it my job, you know?
yeah,
And I remember arguing with like, who am I arguing with? But the universe, God, my higher self, myself. I said out loud once, I'm not leaving this job.
yeah,
I'm not leaving this job. And then I was like, I'm definitely not leaving if there's no financial support. Like, am I crazy person? I'm just gonna leave a job to start a business on an intuitive ping after a psychedelic experience. I sound not well, you know? I don't sound well. It sounds alarming. And
yeah,
so all of those things were coming through, and I was also able to recognize like the thing is the feeling I had about I'm gonna do this. It was never a question of whether I was gonna do it or not. I just was like, I'm trying to negotiate terms and conditions with the universe. But you know, please support me in this decision. I will do it, but please help me.
yeah,
But I remembered the same feeling I had when I was called to leave teaching.
yeah.
I was a New York City public school teacher for 6 years, and
Wow,
yeah,
wow.
yeah, that's what my bachelor's and master's degree is in education, special
Wow.
education, literacy education. And I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher through and through. Every job I have, I end up teaching.
Yeah,
I was in sales. I was a rookie sales trainer. I would do Northeast regional training sessions. And now High Priestess Healing, I teach tarot, I teach meditation, I teach community building. I'm now teaching people who are aspiring content creators how to create content and turn that into a business. I'm always going to teach. But what was crazy is like that innate fiber of like, I'm a teacher. When I was called to leave teaching, I was like, oh God, this is scary too. But the knowing of like, but I know I am supposed to leave. I knew I was supposed to go to my alma mater. It was like a non-negotiable. I was going to St. Bonaventure University, a Catholic Franciscan college. Um, and I got a scholarship to another school, and my family was like, you should probably go there. And I was like, I can't. I cannot explain this, but I can't go there. I have to go to Bona's. I have to teach. I have to leave teaching. I took the corporate job, and then I was like, and now I have to leave this corporate job. It was the same feeling.
yeah,
Launching High Priestess Healing, I was like, it's the same feeling. So that pattern recognition of I've been in this feeling before. Okay. And it has worked out, even though it's scary taking that jump. Bonaventure worked out, was one of the best decisions of my life. Teaching and leaving teaching, one of the best decisions of my life. And so I had to use that evidence
Yeah.
to soothe the anxiety
Yeah.
that, like, even though this is new and scary, you've done scary things before because you were called to. Not because I was being impulsive, not because I was overthinking, but because I knew and felt in me it was time. So I had to like lean on that past evidence and like go all in on this is something bigger than me. And even though I can't see the parts, I have to trust that the parts will show up because in the past that's what happened.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that, Jessica. It's a powerful statement of fact in terms of the reality of the energy of the universe, and when you're in alignment, and when you're in your true purpose, and when we're completely actively listening. And for us as intuitives, we actively listen not only with our ears, with our bodies, with our minds, with our
Hmm.
souls, with our spirits, to ensure that the decisions that we make are in alignment with our soul's purpose, right?
Yeah.
I heard it beautifully said today that we put our soul shoes on.
Ooh, I love that. I've never heard
Yeah,
that.
yeah. We put our soul shoes on, and we got to make sure that we're walking in our soul's purpose, which is
Yeah.
so amazingly powerful. And I suppose in developing your programs and developing your practice and having a discipline of teaching behind you, did that make it easier to begin to design and deliver programs based on what people were looking for? You've mentioned already, for example, you were intuitively led to set up your YouTube channel to look at tarot, and
Yeah.
then it exploded, and if
Yeah.
followers and listeners, if you go on Jessica's Tarot channel today on terms of YouTube, you'll see she is most definitely a high priestess, and she definitely has an exceptionally strong following there. So when you put all that together, I mean, not that you need evidence, not that you need proof, but in terms of your work, do people get skeptical sometimes and say, "Yeah, that's a load of bunkum. This won't work. I've tried it so many times. What am I doing wrong?" How do you guide and show people the way from that
Hmm.
motivation of skepticism to that motivation of actually true believer?
This is a great question.
Thank you.
Um,
I've been
it,
on fire. Can I say,
you are.
Jessica,
I
I
feel
am
it.
actually on fire. I have some way, somehow tapped into the universal source this week because
You are.
intuitively these questions are coming to me, and I'm just open to receiving them and open to asking them of you.
It's beautiful. To answer your question, and thank you so much for, saying I am the high priestess. What's ironic about that, Seamus, is that my business slogan is "You are the high priestess."
Yeah, yeah,
So I don't pay mind to any combative or um, objections to what I'm doing. I also think I think anyone who thinks what I'm doing is bullshit, they don't say it to me. So you know, I know I'm very sweet and I have a little spice to me too. So maybe people don't want to deal with that. But reminding people, the high priestess is an archetype that is within all of us.
yeah,
The high priestess archetype is the intuition that we hold and the ability to go into the darkness to extract light. And that's all this business is me going into my darkness, my shadows, my wounds, my undiscovered parts of self, and bringing it out into the light and sharing that with others so that they can do that for themselves.
yeah. Wow, wow.
Because you know this parable. If you teach a man to fish, he eats for a day. Or no, if you fish for a man, he eats for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that the more that we come into our own pathway, practice, familiarity with, I actually hold the answers. I don't have to outsource my validation. My insides have an internal navigation system. If I learn what that sounds like, whispers versus screams, and I begin to follow it, I'll be able to then collect data and evidence in my own life of the patterns of, wow, when I trust this, it actually does work out. So the offers that I make are really around how to utilize spiritual rituals and practices like divination, tarot, or
Yeah.
meditation, or moon ceremonies, reflective opportunities to go in. I'm not giving anyone answers. I'm not giving anyone, you know, what I think they should do because I don't know. Only you know what you should do. But I
Yeah.
can give you the blueprint of what I use so that you can use it and adapt it and modify it for your own process. Does that make
Beautiful.
sense?
It absolutely makes total sense. And in a sense, you empower people to take that
That's it.
journey. You take
That's
that journey from themselves. It's not your journey doesn't become their journey. They have to take
mm-mm.
that journey themselves to find their true mission, vision, and purpose in life. All you're doing is saying, "Hey guys, this is what I've done. These are my disciplines. These are my tools. Let them work for you in the way that you want to work for them." Right?
and and I'm not done, you know?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
still I am I am still making myself walk my talk every day. Even right now, as we're recording, it's March. I'm actually in a transition that my community is witnessing me in,
Yeah.
which is not always, I don't really see that in a lot of coaching spaces where people are living out loud and allowing that to serve as the lesson right now. So
Yeah.
my high priestess community within our app, they're watching me move through a transition, which transitions are messy. If you think about a butterfly emerging from a chrysalis, that is there's a struggle. There's a intelligent design in that struggle so that their wings are strong enough to fly once they're out. But if there was no struggle in that emergence, their wings might not be strong enough. So
Absolutely.
to bring that back to like, I just feel like we're all on this journey and this voyage of our own soul's blueprint, but I'm happy to be witness going first. Or I'm happy to be witness like I'm doing this one out loud. So if you need encouragement of like, is this possible? It is so possible. It doesn't make it less scary and less challenging, but sometimes knowing you're not doing it alone, that there are people alone together with you
Yeah.
makes it more endurable.
Absolutely. And the more you open yourself up to the source energy and the energy of the universe, the more authentic, honest, natural connections you will make. And I always feel, and I don't know if you're the same, just that when people see it, people see it. When people get it, people get it. When people know it, people know it. When people understand it, people understand it. You know, it almost becomes a self-taught practice then, doesn't it? It almost becomes innate. It becomes embedded in your soul, really, and that becomes your compass. Then that becomes your life compass going forward.
Yeah.
From in this life and in lives to come.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, Certainly that's how I see it. And we've spoken in the past about my Irish culture and my Irish background. And I think before we were Catholics, we were Christians, and before we were Christians, we were Celts. And when you look at that Celtic mysticism,
Yeah. So beautiful.
that runs strong in every person's DNA, right? And
Yeah.
certainly in terms of my own DNA, I recognize Celtic mysticism quite powerfully in my
Me
own life.
too.
And why I wouldn't call myself well, I did once upon a time for about 15 months. I did call myself a priest, right? But I wouldn't call myself a high priest. I should maybe. I don't know. Maybe I am a high priest of sorts, maybe, right?
I think you are.
Yeah.
I think that it's important sometimes to remember what's man-made and what's innate.
Yeah.
And archetypes are innate.
Yeah.
And so that means it came before the structure and institution of religion.
Wow. That's
You've
quite,
always been a high priest, whether a piece of paper or an org says it or not.
wow.
So that means no one can take it either.
Oh, you see, that's my revelation today. That's my revelation today. That's why I needed to be here today to hear that. I needed to be here to hear that information. That's so powerful. And that connects not only in terms of where I am right now speaking to you, but actually I can feel my ancestral line
Hmm.
all the way back celebrating, that pronouncement, right? Just celebrating that pronouncement all the
Oh,
way
I have
back.
goosebumps.
Yeah, I can hear it. I can feel it. My ancestral line is going, yeah, we freaking told you
Yes.
so, man. We've been telling you
Yes.
for ages. And now Jess has you know given you the nod. Yes, you are, which is incredible. I think I think I think your business is incredible. I think when we lead by the spirit and when we work by the spirit intuitively, then therein is the sacred ground. Therein is the sacred
Yeah.
territory, right? That's that's so precious. How
Yeah.
do how do you how do you manage that space for people, but at the same time keep yourself safe?
Wow. Wow. I did not see that question coming. Wow. That's beautiful. Boundary work is so pivotal for all humans, whether whether you believe in spirituality or not.
Yeah,
Um, and boundary work is essentially preservation of your sacred energy.
yeah,
So that means we have to be okay with saying no. We have to learn what are my limits in terms of time, what are my limits in terms of other people's energy and how much we give and how much we receive through our ears, how much we receive through our human interaction time. So I'm a practitioner, Seamus, so that means I'm always practicing.
yeah.
I'm a practitioner of boundaries. I'm not a
Likewise,
master.
yeah,
Right. I'm not a
likewise.
master of boundaries, but learning that over the last 3 years has also been part of this process. So I have my own rituals I stick to every day that are non-negotiable. But then in shared space, I try to set intentions and like framework for people so that we are all feeling safe and held and also accountable in the containers. And that's a lot of there's a lot of like learning curve there. So I'm still also learning best practices for boundaries within healing containers because you want people to feel safe enough to share what it is that they're moving through and overcoming. But you also don't want it to become a container of enabling where people are simply emotionally dumping or
Yeah,
becoming energy vampires
yeah,
and a lot of times people don't realize when they're energy vampires, but we can teach through like what is through modeling and through showcasing and highlighting the things that are working, the things that are beneficial. But that is very fluid in my experience. This whole protection and boundaries and learning that's something I'm very much still learning and practicing in real time.
wow, wow. I absolutely 100% get that. I think you meet some people, and I think, as soon as I met you, Jess, and as soon as we connected, I think we encourage each other's energy, right? And
Yeah.
we almost like batteries, where you've got positive and negative and positive and negative. When you put ourselves in the box, right? The more power we have together, the more charged we become. I remember I had a similar
Yes.
conversation with an amazing guest yesterday, and I actually had to cancel my 1 o'clock because I literally couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I get that.
I had to ground myself. I had to go away. I had to walk the dog. I had to have a cup of
Yeah,
tea. I had to lie down in a dark room for about a half an hour, just to chill and
yeah.
dissipate the energy. Because if I faced into a client call using the energy level that I was at, then I would have scared people, right? I would have really scared people yesterday.
And that's so good that you have that awareness. I
Yeah,
think that's like the first step for people who are still learning about, our own energy and like it's important to have that awareness or that space to reflect on like what am I feeling? What do I need? Let me go do those things and what adjustments do I need to make so that I'm performing at the level that I want to be performing at. Because you also want to be able to meet people where they can understand you, right? And so sometimes when we're too high or too low, the message might get lost. So that equilibrium, coming back to an equilibrium through self-awareness and boundaries and ritual is so important. And not everybody has that, Seamus. So that's beautiful that you can recognize and give that to yourself. That's self-love.
yeah, and self-care, and I recognize that I've not always had that, but again, in terms of my own spiritual universal journey that I've taken, in terms of becoming more aligned with the universal source and
Hmm.
listening to the universe a little bit more, I recognize that that's that that's intuitively quite powerful. I know when to step away as you do, and I know when to we're almost that intuitively guided all the time, and that's the practice, and those are the
Yes.
that is the energy that we create on a daily basis.
Hmm.
Jessica Poscillico, I cannot believe, but our time's nearly up already. Can you believe
I
it?
know. This was so fast. That's how you know you're in the waves.
Honestly, I cannot believe it. Before we go and before we sign off today, um, where can people find you?
Mhm.
Where can they look? How can they know more? How can they seek you out?
Yeah.
How would you invite people to go forward?
Yeah. Follow me on YouTube at High Priestess Healing Tarot. You'll see that it looks like I read for the Pisces Astrology Collective, and I do. But if you are somebody who speaks the language that I'm speaking today, then those readings are for you too, not just for Pisces. And no matter who you are, you actually have Pisces in your astrology chart somewhere. So if you need something to get over that little blockage. But also follow me on Instagram at High Priestess Healing 3. I think I sent over that link, so my Instagram handle should be in the episode description. Those are the two best places to follow and receive live updates and active tarot card readings and courses and offerings of mine.
Wonderful. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, wherever you might be in this wonderful world today, I would absolutely, encourage, those listening today to reach out to Jess, connect with her on those channels, follow her journey, follow her story, because you won't regret it. You'll be filled with love, light, and energy, as I have been, from our very first connection. And even though we might be miles apart, Jess, I feel your energy on a daily basis, and it's wonderful to be part of that. It's wonderful to be part of
Oh,
that.
thank you. Thank you so much for this, Seamus. And Seamus, I just have one last thing to say to you. You are the High Priestess.
Get in, get in. And on that note, I think I'm going to buy a top with that note. All right. Speaking of which, you can get some wonderful merch on Jessica's website as well. She does some beautiful merch, and I think I might be paying a visit to that online store very shortly to
Yes.
download and create and purchase my own High Priestess uh, top. So, Jess, thank you so much for your time, energy, commitment today. I wish you well on your journey, and I know it's a period of profound transition for you. We're with you in terms of that transition. All
Thank
right,
you, Seamus.
we are with you, and those who know.
Yeah.
So, don't be a stranger. Reach out, connect if you need to. But I wish you well in terms of your journey, and just thank you for being on today.
Thank you.